Welcome to the world's greatest celebrities podcast. We're doing something a little different today, a deep dive, if you will.
Whoa, deep dive. Sounds intriguing.
It is, trust me. We're going to explore the life and career of a true Hollywood legend, Humphrey Bogart.
Bogart. Now that's a name that carries some serious weight in cinema.
Absolutely. We want to understand what made him such an icon, what shaped him into the legend we remember today, not just list off his movies.
So we're going beyond the surface, getting to the heart of what made Bogart, well, Bogart.
Exactly. And we're better to start than at the very beginning. Christmas Day, 1899, New York City. Humphrey DeForest Bogart is born.
Born on Christmas. That's quite a birthday to live up to.
Right, and into a rather well-to-do family. His mother, Maud Humphrey, was a successful magazine illustrator and, get this, a suffragette.
A suffragette. Wow, talk about a woman ahead of her time. That must have influenced him.
I would think so. Imagine growing up with a mother who's fighting for women's rights, challenging societal norms. That's bound to leave a mark.
Definitely, and his father.
Belmont DeForest Bogart, a surgeon. A seemingly successful upper-middle-class life. But there's a twist. A secret opium addiction.
Oh, wow. That adds a whole other layer to the family dynamic. Success on the outside, but a hidden struggle within.
Exactly, and that kind of duality often shapes a person's character, that contrast between appearances and reality.
And knowing what we know about Bogart's on-screen persona, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
He often played characters with a hidden depth.
Right. Now, young Humphrey's education seems pretty straightforward at first. Trinity School in New York, then Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts, priming him for Yale and a medical career.
The classic path for someone of his social standing.
Exactly. But then, a curveball, he gets expelled from Phillips.
Expelled? What happened? Was he a troublemaker?
The details are a bit murky, but it certainly disrupts that carefully laid out plan. Makes you wonder how that impacted him.
Yeah, did it spark a rebellious streak? Or make him realize that maybe the conventional path wasn't for him after all?
Who knows? But shortly after, he joins the U.S. Naval Reserve. World War I is raging. It's 1918.
So he's in the Navy. And this is where we get those trademark Bogart features, right? The scar and the lisp.
Right. But even their origin is a bit of a mystery. Some say shrapnel, others say it was from a fight. Who knows for sure?
But doesn't that just add to the mystique? It becomes part of his persona,
Yeah.
sense of a man with a past, a tough guy with a story to tell.
Absolutely. After the Navy, he kind of drifts for a bit, odd jobs here and there, not really finding his place. But then he stumbles into the world of theater.
Theater? That's an interesting turn. How did that happen?
Well, he starts managing a stage company owned by a family friend, William A. Brady. Then he actually steps onto the stage himself.
Really? So he went from behind the scenes to the spotlight.
Yep. But get this, the early reviews of his acting were, shall we say, less than stellar.
No way. Come on,
Right.
Bogart getting bad reviews.
Oh, yeah. One critic even called his performance inadequate. Can you imagine?
Wow, goes to show even the biggest stars have humble beginnings.
It's true. But he didn't let it get him down. In 1930, he signs with Fox and makes his film debut in a short called Broadway's Laver. Like that.
So Hollywood, finally.
Right. But it was a short-lived stint. Fox let him go after 2 years.
What? Why?
Who knows? Maybe they didn't see his potential yet. But he went back to the stage, did smaller film roles. 5 years of grinding, really honing his craft.
That kind of perseverance is often what separates the successful from the rest.
Couldn't agree more. And then, in 1936, the big break. He lands the role of Duke Mantee in Warner Bros. The Petrified Forest.
The Petrified Forest? No, that's a classic.
And he almost didn't get the part. They wanted Edward G. Robinson, who was a much bigger name at the time.
Oh, wow, that's interesting. So how did he swing it?
Leslie Howard, the star of the film, had seen Bogart on stage in the same role. He was so impressed that he threatened to walk if they didn't cast Bogart.
Really? Now that's putting your money where your mouth is.
Yes.
A true testament to Bogart's talent.
Absolutely. The Petrified Forest becomes a hit, and Bogart signs a long-term contract with Warner Bros. It's the start of something big.
So he's finally found a home in Hollywood.
And how? Between 1936 and 1940, he appears in 28 films, mostly gangster roles, but some westerns, even a horror flick. He's working nonstop.
Talk about prolific. He's becoming a familiar face, building a reputation.
And then 1941 rolls around, and it's a landmark year for Bogart. 2 huge films, High Sierra and The Maltese Falcon.
Ah, The Maltese Falcon, one of the greatest film noirs ever made. And his performance as Sam Spade is just iconic.
It's the role that really cemented him as a star. He's not just a gangster anymore, but this complex, morally ambiguous anti-hero. Audiences loved it.
And it helped define a whole genre, film noir. Those shadowy settings, the cynical dialogue, the flawed heroes. It was a perfect fit for Bogart.
It really was, and the hits just kept on coming. Casablanca in 42, The Big Sleep in 46, Key Largo in 48. The guy was on a roll.
It's amazing to think that this guy, who once described his own education as erratic, was actually a very well-read intellectual.
I know, right? He loved literature, surrounded himself with writers and thinkers. You can see that depth in his performances.
It's not just surface-level toughness. There's a real intelligence behind those eyes.
For sure. And speaking of intelligence, he wasn't afraid to use his voice off-screen either. In 1947, he joins his wife, Lauren Bacall, and others in protesting the House Un-American Activities Committee.
Wow, taking a stand like that in Hollywood at that time was risky. It's just
Yeah.
real integrity.
Absolutely. He was a man of principle. And he wanted more control over his career, too. So in 1948, he forms his own production company, Santana Productions. They made The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, among others.
So not content with just acting, he wanted to shape the stories being told. A true auteur.
He was. And it all culminates in 1951 when he wins the Best Actor Oscar for The African Queen.
Well deserved. It's one of his most memorable performances. And he got nominated for Casablanca and the Cane Mutiny, too.
Right. And can you believe he was already battling cancer while filming The Cane Mutiny? The man was dedicated to his craft.
Amazing. He never let a show on screen.
On a personal note, his marriage to Lauren Bacall in 1945 became one of Hollywood's greatest love stories. They had 2 kids, Stephen and Leslie.
Leslie, named it for Leslie Howard. That's a beautiful tribute.
It is. He was also part of the original Rat Pack, with Sinatra and all those guys. They embodied that cool, charismatic Hollywood lifestyle.
He was living the dream, but sadly, it was cut short.
Too short. A heavy smoker and drinker, Bogart passed away in his sleep in 1957, only 57 years old. Esophageal cancer took him.
It's tragic, but he left behind an incredible legacy.
No doubt. 4 of his films, Casablanca, The Maltese Falcon, The Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and The African Queen, are considered among the greatest American movies of all time. Casablanca consistently ranks near the top.
Incredible. And in 1999, the American Film Institute named him the greatest male star of classic American cinema.
A true icon. And we're just scratching the surface here. To dive deeper into the lives of incredible figures like Bogart, head over to worldsgreatestcelebrities.com.
It's amazing to think about his journey, from those uncertain early days to becoming a legend. Talent, perseverance, and a few lucky breaks along the way, I guess.
Exactly. His on-screen persona, that tough but honorable guy, the cynical romantic, it resonated with audiences then, and it still does today.
He helped define the image of the private detective, brought a new depth to leading men. And he never backed down from speaking his mind, even when it ruffled feathers in Hollywood.
He was a true original, that's for sure. Well, we hope you enjoyed this deep dive into the life and career of Humphrey Bogart.
A fascinating look at a Hollywood icon.
And for more amazing stories about the world's greatest celebrities, be sure to visit worldsgreatestcelebrities.com.
Thank you for listening to the World's Greatest Celebrities podcast.
Until next time.
See you then.